Hello, and welcome to Musings from the Mystics. I'm Marnie, your guide on this crazy and sometimes tumultuous journey we call life. Each episode, I'll share my musings about the current energetic climate, how I'm navigating these times, and my tips to help you get the most out of your journey. So join me to awaken, be empowered, and expand beyond the third dimension. If you've been following along, you may have noticed that Maria Elena is no longer on this journey with me. She has taken a new path and a new direction, and we wish her all the best. I am going to continue bringing this podcast to you, and I will be asking friends, other spiritual leaders, guides, mystics, healers on to join me from time to time. And I hope you enjoy this new direction. So this week, Natalie, who we interviewed last week, is interviewing me. So Natalie, take it away.
Hi, everybody. All right, Marnie, so we're going to put you to it this week.
Okay, I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right, so you have essentially burned your life down.
I have blown up every aspect of my life over the last month, yes.
So let's tell our inquiring minds why.
Why? Okay. So one of the things that MA talked about in our January 1st episode was this torch year and how we're really focusing on identity and who are we? And there's this giant question, who are we? And everyone's feeling it in different ways. But still the question is there. This whole year is, who are you? Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? Like, it is time to, as my grandmother used to say, shit or get off the pot.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's great.
She was very Southern and had some very interesting expressions. And I know when things are not aligned, it's time for them to end. And the brick and mortar store had been, for the last year and a half, really been dwindling down. And, COVID made people shop differently. It changed the way people related with the environment and the community around them. And there aren't many small businesses actually lasting, to be honest. And so it was time to pivot, and I knew it was time to pivot. And one of my girlfriends said, bury the horse, stop flogging it. It's dead, bury it. And I was like, I know I need to do this. And so I made this decision to close the shop. And at the same time, I knew I needed a rebirth, right? Because the work that I do in the world is still what I do. It's still vital. It's still important. And while it has evolved with me over the years, it has always been the constant in my life, this journey, ascension of growth. And so I knew Peace in the Forest, as it was a community space, and moving everything to my little haven in the country, homestead, which is now called the Legacy Center, was needed. And that meant a rebirth. And you could liken it to rebranding. There was a lot of change there as well. But I don't like those kinds of words. I liked rebirthing. And it has been actually received really well.
It is. It's a great. So tell everybody, what is it now? Because it's a great name and we all love it.
So the new name is Ever Awakening. Because that is truly who I am. The authentic piece of me is that I am always on that ascending spiral. I am always asking the question, who am I now? Who am I now? What am I doing? Where am I going? Very consciously aware. And the process is ongoing, right? There's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow at some point in the middle of your life, and then you just get to live blissfully. That's not the way it works. That's not the human experience. So I renamed it Ever Awakening because that's truly what it is.
And it makes sense. And all the stuff that you do. And of course, at the end of the podcast, there'll be be links for all of Marnie's stuff and everything, but it's also inclusive of empowerment. There are a lot of empowerment practices that you do use, and we'll get to those shortly, but that was part of your Ever Awakening as well, correct?
Yeah, I wanted it to feel like, okay, you see me, and I'm in the middle of this process, and there's hope, right? I think I always considered myself a really hopeful person, and then I went through that period in my life where I wasn't so hopeful. And then
We've all been there.
And then I jumped back on the hopeful train, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that we're all in this process. We are all the caterpillar in the cocoon, the butterfly, and then we do it again and again and again and again. And that's like, okay, I'm not getting it wrong.
No, you're not getting it wrong. And I like to use, I love the analogy of the onion too. Kind of like you peel back a layer and people think, oh, I'm done. But that's not really, no, it's now you're ready for the next layer. And there's still lots and lots of layers to go through. But it's the same sort of thing. You're speaking ascending spiral, which is the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I liken it to the 1,000-petal lotus. You know, that it grows from the muck and the sludge at the bottom of the pond, and it continues to go through this blossoming process. And so yes, it's Ever Awakening, and the Legacy Center is the location, which happens to be on family land. And if you're interested more in the story, it is on the website under the Legacy Center. But my family is the only family who's ever lived here, other than indigenous, maybe in ancient times. I do not know that. But we found out through an interesting process that we're actually sitting on top of crystal caverns, quartz caverns. They're the only ones not in the mountains, and you can feel it. The minute you hit the driveway, you can feel the energy shift here.
She's actually giving me goosebumps as she's talking. We're sitting here in this land doing this interview, and it's truly magical, and you can totally feel it. It's like a different, almost dimension when you're sitting here.
It's totally a different dimension.
And I've done some work here. I'm part of Marnie's team anyway, but I do treatments here, and I can totally feel it when I do treatments. Actually, I just had a client who left who was like, "Oh, this place is amazing," and he was really impressed with it.
Yeah, once you're here, you get it. It is one of those places you have to come through kind of a interesting country neighborhood with no rules. You know, when they don't have covenants, you just never know what you're going to drive past. But we're at the end of a cul-de-sac, and it's 6+ acres, and we have a year-round creek and a hill behind us. It's like the belly of the mother. I feel like I'm in the womb of the mother here in this space, because you come down the driveway a little bit, and we're backed by this hill, and it is really magical, and it is such a wonderful place to facilitate growth and healing and awakening and processing. It's just, I am very blessed I'm blessed that my mother found this space and said, I have to have it. And it's always been dedicated to spiritual pursuits.
Well, and especially, like, again, you said the community and the brick and mortar shop, and it was great, and it was a great place to be, but it was loud. There were cars. It was hard to do some of the things that we do there.
Yes, yeah, Sound bath is not really healing and therapeutic when there's rumbling trucks and buses and fire engines driving by.
Correct. In the middle of a historic downtown city, you know, not a huge city, but even a city at that. So this place is magical. It's peaceful.
It is. Yeah. So I renamed. I have a new logo. I have new imagery. I have a new website. I also blew up my relationship at the same time.
She's letting it all burn, everybody.
I'm letting it all burn. And, you know, it's so interesting because I kind of laugh about it. And I'm like, yep, I blew up my life very matter-of-factly because, well, it is very matter-of-fact. That's not to say that I don't feel the shift and the grief or the loss of what was. And also, I don't get stuck there. That's not beneficial for anyone to be stuck in that space of what was. I look at it as an opportunity, a door opening, a new beginning. How is it evolving? Because most of the community moved here with me. They still attend my classes and workshops and the work that I do. And So I guess the reason I'm sharing all of this with you is that you're not alone. If you feel like your life is blowing up, it is.
No, it totally is, but it's also inspiring. And even the words you just said, the okay, yes, I feel it. I feel the grief of it. It is a loss, but there's a rebirth that's coming from it, and it's inspiring, and you can say, I know I can let this go, and I know something better is going to come of it. So that's also empowering and inspiring to a lot of other people that say, like, oh wow, she totally got rid of everything, and look what she's doing, and look how she's doing it. And you said people are still coming here and still are enjoying everything you have to offer.
Yeah. It's interesting because in the Western culture, I think in particular, we're not taught release or letting go. No. We hoard and accumulate and gather and with like death grip on everything in our life. But that isn't life. That is some sort of delusional programming that we're living under. Life is life and death and rebirth and life and death. And we go through this cyclical process over and over again. And it's important to learn how to do it.
It is, because look at all the disease in the world, all the illness. I mean, you know, you have, and forgive me, all of you people that are going to have problem with what I say here, but you know, there is totally something that gets stuck in your body. There's totally the energy that gets stuck in your body that causes those symptoms.
Absolutely.
So, you know, being able to release it and learn how to do those things, which is exactly what you're doing, which again, inspiration to all of us. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. It is. We do. I hope I can be an example of like, you can burn your life down and you're not going to die. The world will not come to an end. We have the capacity to grow and to rebirth. That it is a natural cycle within us. It's in our DNA. It's in our, you know, bloodlines. It's in our ancestry. We know how to do this process. We just get afraid. We get in our headspace and we get afraid. And not to say that it wasn't scary as hell
right,
doing it. And, you know, people look at me and like, you seem fine. Are you okay? How are you feeling about all of this? And it's like, okay, I see that there is a release here. And yes, I have feelings. And also, I'm not going to let it stop me. And it's really important that you understand change is part of the process. If you're not changing, you're not growing, you're not living. There needs to be that evolution within us constantly throughout our life in order to have a well-lived life.
Absolutely. Or you're going to get bored, first of all. You're going to be stagnant. You're not going to move. And then
you're going to be sick.
You are going to be sick. You're going to have all those things like the trauma that gets stored in your body that, you know, you can't release. Any of those things, you need to go through the cycle.
You do. And so, yeah, it's scary to make those decisions. I don't have any idea how I'm going to support myself. And you have to at some point trust the universe, and I really do try to practice what I teach. I believe the words that I share with my clients, and I try to lead by example. And so, yeah, it was scary, and I took the leap anyway, which is what I did when I started the shop in the first place. That was like a complete, not on my radar, not what I was planning to do, and took that huge leap, and I created an amazing community out of that. I was like, wow, like all these lives I've touched and that people have met each other and created their own friendships through it. And how, wow, that I did that. I created that.
Absolutely.
With a wonderful team of people, I created this really amazing space. So I know that I can do it again, or, you know, how is it going to shift and grow? And I can be excited about that. And I can go, yep, I see you, fear. I'm going to leap anyway.
Right. I know what you're trying to do to me. I'm not listening to you. I'm moving on.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what's the alternative? If I stay in fear, I what?
Right.
I watch a business crumble, or I try 50 million different things. Like, what do you do? What is the alternative? And to me, that alternative is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
For me, anyway.
No, that makes sense. So, Ever Awakening, everyone. You'll see, again, all the links below the podcast. The Legacy Center, I've been here myself. It's amazing. I'm sitting here now. It's truly magical. So moving on from this great space,
Yes.
I know when you did your original podcast, you said why you do what you do, but what do you do?
No, what do I do?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you do. I mean, and there is a plethora of things that Marnie does. So we're not going to dive fully into every single one. We would be here for hours upon hours, but a more brief summation so people have an idea of when they come here or what they're getting into.
Okay. So broadly speaking, as long as I can remember, from my first memory, my energy and life has always been focused on being better. How can I be a better me? And admittedly, until recently, that being better came from a place of not enoughness.
Yeah, lack.
Or too much. How can I be a better version of me? And then I took this wonderful sacred facilitator course and with Global Sisterhood, who is incidentally also closed down, which is interesting that all happened around the same time. But it had us look at what the why of what we were doing. And in that process, I realized, oh crap, like this is a wonderful goal. And also my reasoning was out of alignment. And it allowed me to really shift into aligning with the goal is still the same, to be better, but because that excites me, it thrills me, it brings joy to my life, it feels good, it feels like I'm in alignment, so my reasoning has shifted to a much more aligned, holistic space of growth rather than fixing, right? I think before it was like, how can I fix myself?
Right.
So
and
all that to say,
all of our words have meanings.
Oh, well, they do
right?
all have meanings.
We're not saying fixing.
Not saying fixing. We do not need fixing. So all that to say, my goal has always been growth. And because I've been so focused on it my entire life, I have a little bit of experience in this realm.
Yes.
Because I too have suffered trauma and had, tragedies and spent my whole life in that energy of not enoughness. I get what self-worth and reclaiming it looks like. And so my work is all about empowerment.
And going through those things as a healer makes us relatable to other people. Like, we can say we've been there, we've done that, we definitely know what you're going through. It allows that bit of empathy in there too. Like, yeah, I'm going to tell you all the right things to do, but trust me, I've been there. I know where you are. I've been in your shoes. Yeah. So that makes it even better.
And I will do that. I kind of get rubbed the wrong way. I get rubbed the wrong way when there is a healer that doesn't share who they are, doesn't recognize that they are still in the growth process, that if you are not continually evolving yourself, there's only a certain point you can help people. And we can only heal others, help others as much as we've helped ourselves.
Well, and that's a good thing too, because I think there are the healers out there. And when I first started, I was this way. I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to know everything to be able to help somebody else. And then you realize, just as you just said, no, it's your experience of it. It's your relatability. It's
Absolutely.
your challenges, your struggles that somebody's like, oh, okay, you did this, maybe I can do this too, kind of thing.
Yeah. I want to be an inspiration, not a goal.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's really important, that that guru status of, oh, you've figured it all out. Nope. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're still breathing, you have not figured it all out. we are learning and on that spiral of ascension until the last breath we take, and then the soul goes on to continue that journey wherever you happen to believe that is. So really my work is about empowering others wherever you are, meeting you where you are and helping you up level your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your energy, and helping you, heal those things that are keeping you from doing that.
And I want to go back to something you just said, because this is important too, and I think it's important for people to hear. whatever you believe.
Yeah.
So you're not trying necessarily to shift somebody out of their actual core beliefs.
Absolutely
You're just
not.
showing them a different way. So people
I
get...
will question.
Yes.
I will say, is this your core belief? Or is it an inherited or adopted? Because most people don't actually know what their core beliefs are because they're just programmed in, right? Our parents give us our values and these are our values, but very few people actually go, is that really my value? Do I really agree with that? We just kind of regurgitate the same thing over and over and over again. Not to say everybody does that, but I will say, hey, is this really your value? Because it doesn't seem to be in alignment with how you feel.
Right. Or what I'm getting from you. The point that I'm trying to make too with this is, like, when we talk about energy work, we don't care what your religious background is.
Not.
We don't care what you came from or what you believe. We just want to help in any way that we can. And I think you said meeting you where you are, coming to where you are, no matter what your original belief system is. And you're right. We may question it, which you should do. But it doesn't matter. Everybody, like, people look at energy work and they're like,
oh, but I'm religious, or I'm Christian, or I'm Catholic, or I'm Jewish, or I can't do that, or I'm Muslim, or whatever. And religion has nothing to do with it.
Right. And it makes no difference to you. It makes no difference to me. It makes no difference in the grand scheme of things anyway. Correct. And I just wanted to point that out because
that's good. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a very empowering thing in and of itself as well.
Yep. My only question is, does it serve you? Whatever your beliefs are, do they bring you joy? Do they bring you peace? Do they bring you back to center? Are they fulfilling? And if yes, great. If it's not, then you need to question those things. What aspects do fulfill you, bring you to center? What aspects don't? What can you shift so that everything, my goal is that everything that you do, think, say, feel is in alignment with your truth, the authentic soul self of you that came here to do whatever it came here to do. And so, yeah, I ask a lot of questions. I push boundaries. For sure, I am a boundary pusher.
And that's a good thing. That's how we all grow and expand anyway.
Right. But I never ask you to push a boundary. I have not pushed myself or I'm not willing to push.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about how you go about doing that.
So I do a lot of coaching, and I've called it many things: life coaching, transformational coaching. I'm landing on soul coaching right now because I feel like that is the energy that we're in this year. I mean, we're so, like, authentic self is not the conditioning of the human experience, but the soul, what it came here to do. So I do that through a lot of coaching and asking questions and listening. I'm very psychic intuitive, and you may say something and I will hear a dissonance in the words. Is that true? What's really true? So asking a lot of questions and helping you to release any blocks and limitations that may be keeping you from that authentic self. And so sometimes it's strictly from coaching and guidance and empowerment tools that I've created, and sometimes, which are available on my website. Shameless plug. Not shameless at all. It's
no.
It's amazing information that is concise and usable and relatable and good for everyone. Or also energy work. And I have a lot of trainings in a lot of different modalities. And I've gone through trying them all in different ways. And what I've learned through my own evolution is creating my own synergy of what it is. Because what I truly believe is it doesn't matter what you call the energy work. All the energy is coming from the same divine source, however you define that.
Correct.
And so calling it Huna, calling it Drasana, calling it Reiki, calling it shamanism, whatever. If you need a label it.
Right.
But to me, it is really about being a channel of that divine energy and letting that divine energy in your higher self release anything that it's not serving you.
And as speaking to that with all of your training, because Marnie is humble in her training and she does do it her own way, which is fabulous. If you haven't worked with her, you absolutely should. But there's also inherited. There's also
There
Akashic things that you can get into if you choose to, or if a client is looking for something like that. Tell me about that.
Okay, so my grandmother and mother were both incredibly psychic. I grew up psychic. I didn't know it was something. I didn't know it was a thing. I thought everybody could do it.
Yep.
My grandmother was like that. My mother was like that. I just thought it was I thought everybody could do it. I didn't realize it was different. And I talk a lot about with my clients superpowers and how they're the things we take for granted because they come so easily. And I totally took it for granted. Also grew up incredibly empathic, which caused me to shut down for most of my life until I learned how to work with it. So I do a lot of teaching because I end up with a lot of clients who are empaths, and the world is quite overwhelming if you don't know how to have good energetic hygiene. Anyway, back to the hereditary part of it. So it always came naturally, and I didn't realize, and I also wasn't taught really how to work with it. And I didn't realize I was a channel until a few years ago, because of the way that the divine channels through me is information just pops into my head and I just know, or I get images, or I can see scenes or past lives. And again, I just thought everybody could do that. I didn't know it was a thing. And I was like, oh, to me, I thought channeling was your eyes closed and you speak funny languages and, you're like, what do they call it? Like a trans channel. I thought that was the only kind of channeling there was.
Right.
I didn't realize there was conscious channeling. And even that, it's not that way for me. It's a different kind of language, and not in words, but how information is communicated to me. And so I get a lot of information when I work with people. If they're open and if they're ready to receive, the information will come through. And sometimes I can say, oh, this happened in this past life and this is what happened. And, beheadings and burnings and injuries and killings, like how they died and how they're carrying that and how it's affecting them now.
And you're able to help them heal that as well.
I'm able to help them heal that. We can release it during past life regressions. We will basically change the timeline so that they hop timelines, which may seem really out there to people right now. They may be listening, but I will guide you through changing the circumstances of that situation so that you can change the timeline and it no longer affects you in this life.
Well, and I think like Akashic is the buzzword for like it's all the rage now. So I think that's
learned how to do Akashic records like 30 years ago.
Exactly. But that's like one of the things like people are searching for, like, how can I do Akashic healing? How can I look at my Akashic records? Like, and people may not even have a clue what they are, but they know the word and they're like, oh, I need to go do this. Right. So it's helpful to say that that you have the ability to.
I do. And I think this is true of any energy healer. If they are following their own innate gifts, that every session with anyone is going to be different because depends on the healer and their training. I have had a lot of trainings. I will do the training as I'm told, and then I will do it the way that I'm being guided to. And
the way that feels best for you.
The way that feels good for me. And when I was in shaman training, things were coming through before she taught them. And I remember her saying, okay, just do it this way, and then you can do it your own way. Clearly you're being guided. I had a wonderful teacher, and I thank her very much for that, giving me that freedom and space to do it in the way that was aligned for me and not following some arbitrary set of rules that somebody came up with. Some human came up with how this divine energy is going to come through. So I learn it and then I do it the way it wants to come through, the way it's more authentic and aligned with.
And that works out better for your clients as well that way.
Yeah.
Because
I don't do things because this is how I was taught. I do things as I am guided.
Right. And how it feels good for you and your client as well. Like, and we can all see the energy with our clients as they move through something. And that's why we do what we do too.
Right. So in an Akashic reading, I kind of go in and out of receiving answers from their guides and then relaying the information, because often I get images, snapshot pictures, or little short movie reels of what's happened. And I need to translate that for them so that what they understand it. Now, I do not interpret, and I'm very clear on that. Like, I'm not telling you what this means.
You're just saying what you see.
I'm saying what I see. If it is my interpretation, I let them know. This is my understanding of what's happening, and they guide me. You know, if I get the word wrong or something,
Right.
then they guide me. But so yeah, Akashic record reading is very different for people. I remember when I was taught, you were supposed to go into the library and pull out their book of life and page through, and that's just not how I see. It's not how the information's channeled for me. So I attempt that, but then it goes into the way that I channel.
And it still works out. It works out for everybody
Absolutely.
involved.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, and your clients keep returning to you. So I would say so as well.
They do. They do. Yeah.
I think that's fabulous. So tell me why would you recommend somebody to come see you?
That's a great question. I'm not good at the sales part of things. Like, I never rebook my clients. If you are ready for something different, if you recognize that this is not life, this is survival, this is getting by, this is not fulfilling, it's not, you're not finding your joy, you're tired of the drama triangle and the trauma, and you are ready for something more for yourself, then that's really the headspace you need to be in to work with me. Because if you're not, it's a collaboration, right? I'm not healing you. We are working on this together. I'm guiding. I had somebody refer to me once as a living guide, right? And that's how I work in program with people, is I can see the vast picture. I can pan out and see the life plan and the soul plan and what's happening, and I help guide you. But you make the steps. You make the choices. You decide, are you ready to put the work into, the effort, I should say, into shifting the patterns and the mind chatter and all of those things, right? The human aspects that can be so challenging. Are you ready to do the work?
So much fun.
It's so much fun, right?
And so much fun. So, all right. So if I just want to stick my toes in and see what it's all about, what else do you offer that I could just try it out in that case?
So if somebody's never done energy work before, I actually refer them to you to do Reiki. Because Reiki is mainstream, quote unquote mainstream now. And that feels approachable to people. So if you're like really new to this, I think that's a really good way to start, because Reiki is a lovely energy and it helps release some things you maybe don't have to dive too deeply into. I am, and I say this, people usually cringe when I say this because, because it seems egotistical, but you don't come to me for a boo-boo.
No, that makes sense.
Right? You don't go to the brain surgeon for an owie. You come to me when you're ready to go into the cocoon.
Okay.
Right? So when you're ready to get into the chrysalis and you're ready to become goo and transfer into the butterfly, that is the work that I excel at. Now, can I simply do an Akashic record reading, simply do a past life regression with you? My signature session is basically a chakra overhaul, clearing out. Absolutely. And you don't have to be super advanced and want massive transformation. And those things would be really beneficial because it removes any of that surface stuff that doesn't have to be processed, which helps get you to that really nice neutral place. That then you can springboard from there, right? You can then dive deeper if you choose to. And then also I offer a lot of classes and workshops.
Which those sound like some pretty good starting points as well. I know you
They
do
are.
a sound bath, like
do.
that's just a kind of relaxation. I know it's different depending on who's here and what's happening,
Right.
but tell us a little bit about a sound bath.
So sound bath, well, and I talked about sound bath in the sound and
That's
podcast that we did, but I can
Yep.
touch on it
Forgot
a little
it.
bit. That's all right. I'm very intentional about sound bath. I hold space. I'm not just playing instruments. I am holding space. I'm very intentional that when I'm playing the root bowl, that your root chakra is being cleared. It is being aligned. It is being upgraded to your highest and best good, and so on through all the instruments. When I play the root bowl and another bowl, I am visualizing a connection between those being very clear, and that channel of energy that runs through us moving clearly and flowing. And so it's very intentional experience whenever I do anything, whether it's a class or sound bath or guided meditation or advanced journey work. It's always really intentional about helping you in any way possible.
Right, and some of those, the point of me asking about some of those is for the beginner as well, for somebody who doesn't necessarily want to be here alone with you, intimidated by you to start with, we'll say.
I am so not intimidating.
She's not, but lots of people are intimidated by her. I'll tell you that up front. There's no need to be, I assure you, but it does happen. But like a meditation, you're here with a group of people, you lay on a mat, you have some calming music, you go through a meditation with you as the guide. It's a very calming experience,
It is,
and it's a good way to step your toes in the water.
It is. Cosmic Smashbooking is another really great way to dip your toes in the water, which you've been to one of those classes, so you got to experience it.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. It's a great way to, one, tap into that creative energy that we all have. No excuses. We all have it. It is innate in us, and there's too much suppression and disregarding of that energy, and we really need to be in that space of creation. But it's a wonderful way to like bypass the mind and get your own divinely channeled information for yourself. It's really fun.
It is really fun. And
no pressure.
No pressure at all. And it's a good way to get out of your self-talk. Like, oh, I'm not going to do cosmic smashbooking. I'm not artistic.
Right.
I'm not creative. Like, no, stop saying that to yourself. Stop saying those words. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Think of yourself as your best friend and say, let's go try it.
Yeah.
It might
also,
be
it's
fun.
not about creating pretty pictures at all.
Oh, no. No, it's not. Clearly, that was hard for me at first. We had this nice clean white sheet of paper and I had to crumple it up, and I just looked at Marnie and I said, "Are you really? Are you sure?"
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. So that is a fun way to dive in and begin to open up to your own inner knowing and your own guides, and to hear the truth of your authentic self versus the programming and conditioning of the mind.
And again, all these classes, everything you do is offered here at the Legacy Center, which is fabulous. Again, magical place, and it just enhances all those things, like the fun that happens and the creative juices that get flowing. Like, you're here in a wonderful space.
Yeah. And then I do another course. So I have the empowerment tools individually that you can do as you feel you'd like to. But I also have another course called the Ever Awakening course. And it's a 4-week tied to the moon sort of situation. And I've been doing it live, but I recognize that other people who maybe do not live nearby could really benefit from this program. And so I'm considering getting it online and doing it through Zoom.
So I'm going to interrupt Marnie here. Anybody who's interested in this live or on Zoom or some other platform, drop a comment to us so we can let her know that you're interested.
Yeah. It's about going through all of the emotions and really diving into what's going on. Who are you? What are you doing? And why? And where are you going? And you've experienced the class, so...
I just finished the class. It was truly transformational. I mean, that's a good word for it. And again, it's not like it's in-depth, but it's not overwhelming.
Yeah,
and
go as far as you want to go.
Right, and it's not stressful either. I mean, things come up that maybe scary, that you're not really, I don't know what the word is, but you're going to see some things that might not be so pleasant, but you're in a space to work through them, and there's help, and there's all kinds of tools to use that help you bring that up so you can either address it, release it, whatever needs to happen with it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm considering, I know I've been called into global, which freaks me out when I say that. I get a little twitchy every time the word global comes out of my mouth. I have to like force myself to say that word. But to be more accessible, I've been called forward around that idea over and over again. And I cannot deny it anymore. I am being like, okay, who are you? And are you showing up? We're calling you forward to be accessible. Hence the podcast, really. That's one of the first things. It was like, you need to do a podcast, which I did not want to do.
And she wasn't actually looking forward to me interviewing her either. She wasn't very comfortable with this. Just so y'all know, she is having a human experience.
I am having a human experience, for sure. I feel like everybody else. And also I continue to redirect to the work here. And the work here is to help people. And that's what I'm doing. And so I do the work for myself so that I can help others as well.
And that's a great message, and that's a great thing to be doing. I mean, anybody we can help, anybody we can raise up, anybody we can lift to the next level, whatever that level may be. Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking that you're in a dark, deep space, you don't have to be there and you don't have to stay there. There is help available. There's all these offerings.
Yeah. And I do work long distance. You don't have to be local to me to work with me. I have a client who's been with me for a while who lives in another state, and we do Zoom calls and healing sessions long distance. I'm perfectly capable of doing that.
Yes, absolutely. She's going global, everyone. So hear this. And it's funny that she's saying this because I actually have a couple clients in a couple different countries too.
I love that.
So yes, so. You're going there too.
Okay. Yep. Terrified, but
yes.
I'm going to do it anyway.
She's terrified. I'm here to push a little bit of her boundaries as well. That's part of why I'm on this podcast with her today. So you all can hear about it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So what else do you want to know? Did I cover everything?
That did not clearly cover everything, not even close, but it gives people an idea. So again, give us a message, like for the person searching for something, not the deep dive into why you should work with me. I'm searching for something. I know it's not right. Give me a tip. What can I do without fully diving in and booking a session with somebody? What can I possibly start with for myself?
So I guess my best advice is you have to get real with yourself. And I think that's so much harder than it sounds, right? And the advice I give often is, it's not easy, it's simple, right? The answer is always simple, but it isn't always easy. And we live in a culture that is very give me the easy way out, give me a pill for that, fix it for me, everything's outside of ourselves, and none of the answers are outside of yourself. Ever. They are always inside. And so it requires you to get real with yourself. What isn't working that you're doing? What isn't working that you're thinking, that you're believing, that your words are saying? What isn't working for you? And that can be done through journaling. Like, sit down with a journal and ask the question, what isn't working in my life? And if it's initially, my husband's an asshole or my job sucks, right? Okay. All right. That's great. That's a great place to begin.
Right.
What's below that?
Right.
And below that and below that. And you keep going down into those places until you get to what isn't working in you.
Okay. And so for the person that starts with this question on the page, what isn't working for me? Nothing comes up. What do I do?
Keep asking.
Keep rewriting the same question?
Keep rewriting the same question. So one of the important things about growth is to be in the internal question mark. I actually have a tattoo on my wrist that says, it's called Two Selves. but because I'm a dichotomy for sure. I'm this and that. But it also looks like a question mark. And so being in this eternal space of questioning of, does this work for me now? Who am I now? What am I doing now? Where do I want to go now? Because if you're growing, the answer should be changing as well. And so it requires us to ask the questions, and then stay with an open mind, listening for the answers. Because the answers come to us, we're just not paying attention.
Correct. And I think that was the good point to get across. Like, if you're going to sit with yourself, don't do it with screaming children around your spouse, your partner, whoever it may be. Find a little time, carve out some space for yourself, and ask this question with a piece of paper, and don't rush it.
Right. And then if you don't get an answer right away, sit with the question. Eternally ask. As you're moving through your day, ask it again, and then pay attention. Because spirit and guides don't descend in front of you and have a conversation and tell you this is what to do. Because honestly, you would lose your mind and check yourself into an institution. Like, everyone's like, that would be amazing. No. Humans are not ready for that. It would not happen. They talk to us through animal sightings that are unusual. They talk to us through songs on the radio that, like, or a song lyric that's stuck in your head. What does that song lyric mean to you? What is it saying? Connect the dots, right? I always say I envision life as all these millions of puzzle pieces floating around in the atmosphere, and occasionally one snaps into place. Oh, okay, that connected to something that happened 2 weeks ago or a year ago or yesterday. Oh, okay, I understand this little piece of the picture now. Now I can see what this is, and I can move from this place of deeper understanding. Now that I understand this, understanding that there's a whole huge puzzle that you do not have pieces for yet, right? Because we are in this great unknown. You are not meant to know.
No. And the other thing is, you are not actually meant to have someone else figure it out for you.
No.
You're allowed to have help. You're allowed to have guides. But this is your mission. This is your journey. This is your life. And I think that's a hard thing for people to get in tune with, to start with. Like, oh, wait, I'm responsible.
Right.
Oh, I don't like that at all. And that's like the first.
Yeah, nobody else has the answer for you.
Right. Exactly.
They can give you their ideas and opinions, but it's really hard for somebody to come to the table with an opinion or an idea without looking through their own personal lens.
Exactly.
So their personal lens is not going to be your personal lens. So we have to ask the questions for ourselves, and we have to be in that space of allowing the puzzle pieces to drop into place and trusting that as long as you're moving forward, the road will rise up to meet you.
And yourself, your body, yourself.
Yeah.
That gut feeling, you're going to know. Whether you choose to ignore it or not is up to you, but
Most people do.
A lot of people definitely do, but you have the signs. You get that gut feeling. Like, you can totally ignore it, or you can say, all right, what is this really trying to tell me? Which is what you're getting at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's beautiful.
And I think a lot of my work teaches you how to trust that piece of you, because we don't. We're conditioned not to trust ourselves. No. We're conditioned not to be responsible. We're conditioned to blame. We're conditioned to, like, all of these things are outside of us. It's the function of the brain. It's trying to keep you safe. However, it's flawed because it doesn't allow us to look at ourselves and take responsibility.
It is flawed. And we don't even realize the amount of conditioning. I mean, we're not just talking parental.
No.
We're talking community.
Everything.
We're talking country, global. I mean,
cultural, religious, advertising, marketing, everything conditions us to think this way or that way to one person or one group's goal, which does not take into account humanity at large.
No, it doesn't. And you use the analogy, like, everybody thought the world was flat for
yes.
how long? Till somebody was like, and I forgive me if any of you flat world people are still out there. I apologize ahead of time. But then it took one person, not a collective, not a whole group of people saying, hey, let's do this different. It was one person who said,
It's not flat.
Right. And then
we're not the center of the universe.
Right, exactly. So I think some people need to hear that too. Like, oh yeah.
Like science is great, but science has limitations. It knows what it knows and it doesn't know anything else until it knows something new, and then the science changes, right? So that's my view of everything. Okay, that is the limitation for now. This is the bar at this point, and be open to that bar changing. And I always look at science as, oh, that's what you know for now. I mean, they didn't understand quantum physics, and now what happens here happens someplace else in a quantum field,
right.
Like, is mind-blowing to the flat earther.
Right. It totally is. And don't even get started with epigenetics either. Like, there's and as Marnie and I are talking, like, we talk about this sometimes too, and I've been working with Marnie a little more often now, so we're in each other's company more often, but we call them rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
Like, there are so many rabbit holes out there, and each person can find their own niche and have something that they follow, but you kind of incorporate all of it.
I do. Yeah. I take all that I've learned and I share all of that with you. And then I encourage you to take what resonates for you. What makes sense to you where you are right now, and leave the door open, right? Don't go, okay, this is my box and get in. Stay out of the box.
I love that.
Just stay out of the box, right? Okay, here's where I am now. Let it be a square you're standing on rather than a box you're standing in. A square you're standing on. This is my understanding for this moment. And at some point, like a chess piece, you're going to leap or move diagonally or forward or backward. You're going to find other things, deeper understanding, broader awareness, and leave the door open for that.
I think that's perfect. And I think you're here to help a lot of people. I think that's your mission. I think that's your journey.
Yes, for sure. I'm trying. It's certainly why I get up every day.
Yeah. So there are numerous ways you can work with Marnie. All her links will be below in the podcast. Again, seriously, comment to us if you are interested in having some stuff on Zoom or some learning courses online. Yeah. We'll see what she can offer us in the future.
Oh, globally. I need to do some math exercises to practice that word.
There you go. There you go.
Well, thank you, Natalie. This has been fun.
Thank you. It's been fun for me too. Awesome. Hopefully I'll see y'all again.
Until next time, this is Marnie, audaciously questioning, who are you?